Welcome everybody to the channel. My name is Excoundrel. I do educational Wildrift content, mostly champion guides, replay breakdowns, esports analysis, and some gameplays. I will, hopefully, as my house move has now just been confirmed, or all but confirmed, be streaming in the near future as well, so you can catch me on twitch.tv/Excoundrel. I'm kind of torn between streaming on Twitch and on YouTube. I've never streamed on YouTube before, so I don't know what the platform's like, and I don't know if I'll really miss Twitch emotes, because Twitch emotes are hilarious, and I have some really great Twitch emotes of, like, Rupert's face. Yeah, I do. Anyway, I will be streaming in the near future, hopefully. And obviously that'll be Wildrift for the most part. I might play some other games, but it really depends on what you guys are into. Mostly it'll be Wildrift for the time being. Today I want to talk a little bit about a Corki build. If you enjoyed the content, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And also thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. Yeah, the Corki build that I want to focus on is the Corki build that the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Corkis play for the most part. And it's something that I'd seen being played in Halo, but I'd never tried myself. And I've tried it, and I really like it. And so the Corki build is Trinity Force into Static Shiv into Boots, and Boots upgrade if you need it that early. If you don't need it that early, you can skip straight over to Infinity Edge. Then I go for Guardian Angel, and your last item is completely open to whatever you want. It could be Rapid Fire Cannon, it could be Phantom Dancer. There are plenty of like final items in this build, even Blade of the Ruin King, which, to be honest with you, I don't think physical vamp is great on Corki because you don't deal that much physical damage, but at the end of the day, getting to 5 items is pretty rare anyway. I've just put Rapid Fire Cannon in because I think it's a good final item. In terms of Boots, I do think the best option for Corki is the Gluttonous Boots, because you get some physical vamp for the physical damage that you do deal. You get a lot of magic vamp, and you are a magic damage dealer for the most part with Corki. However, those boots could also be Mercury Treads, they could also be Swifties, so boots of swiftness if you want to move around the map a bit more quickly. They could also be Ninja Tabai if you're going up against a lot of AD damage. Not entirely necessary to just have the physical, the vamp boots, but I found that the vamp boots help out quite a lot. Alright, what I'm going to do is going to talk about a replay. I would love to do live gameplay recording, but the thing is, like, because my daytime is quite busy, I usually end up playing in bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning, so I never get the chance to record my videos because I'm in bed just playing, you know, very, very late at night. So I do a lot of like replay analysis, but we'll go through the replay. We'll kind of talk about what we did on this Corki and how the build worked out, and yeah, enjoy. So we're going to be focusing on a couple of things in this replay. We're going to be focusing on itemization. We're going to have a look a little bit at Shyvana's early jungle pathing, because I think Chief did a really good job. And speaking of Chief, if you want to follow his Twitch stream, he streams most days, I believe, in the evening, European time. He is a German-English streamer, so he'll stream in German or in English, depending on who's in chat. And he's really, really good. So I'm going to put his Twitch link in the description below and also in the pinned comment. Both him and Stuart, so you guys know it's Stuart, are really, really good streamers. If Hells was a streamer, I'd put him in there as well. But both him and Stuart are really good streamers, and I want to support their channels. So I think, you know, Chief deserves to have that shout out. He's been playing a lot of games with me, and I just think he's a really good player. So what Chief does in the early game, and what I think is really good, like a really interesting jungle pathing, is he wards his blue as Shyvana every time. He goes back and picks up a sweeping lens trinket, which then he can use to sweep out wards in the early game. And then he has some variable jungle paths. The one that we're going to look at today is where he goes red, into Razorbeaks, into Wolves, into Blue, into Scuttle Crab, which gives him a level 4 Scuttle Crab, so he's level 4 by the time that he hits the first Scuttle Crab. And then he becomes able to contest it versus most junglers because he has a level advantage. And then, if he's lucky enough, he can either go take the other Scuttle Crab for level 5, or he can take one more jungle camp. Obviously, the closest jungle camp for him on this will either be the enemy Krugs, so he could go from the Scuttle Crab in the river to the enemy Krugs, which is directly above where the Malphite is. That really depends on top lane priority. Or he can go back to his own Gromp, which is a slightly harder camp to clear, but in general will get you to level 5 as well. So Chief here, he is going to be level 4 by the time that he hits the crab, and you can see that he's pinging it. I start to just move into the brush to give him a little bit of space. Now, I'm losing to Orianna pretty hard in terms of pressure. It's really difficult for me to trade versus Orianna. The only effective way to trade versus the Orianna in the early game is to do that. Just hit your Gatling gun. Hopefully, you hit all of your abilities. You know, and even then, it comes out relatively even. So, Chief hit level 4. He got the top Scuttle Crab. He's like almost level 5. And so he's going to get this second Scuttle Crab, which just so happened to be on this side of the river, which is really good. He's going to box it on his red side jungle entrance just by staying in front of it so it won't move past him. And now he hits level 5. This is an opportunity for him to look for a gank. Now what happened here is Orianna overstepped, got very aggressive. I could not follow up easily, but Chief was able to just get in and essentially ult the Orianna. She decides, instead of slowing Chief down, she didn't really have the mana. She decides to try and kill me on the way back out, but I don't believe she had the mana for dissonance. And that allowed Chief to get first blood, and you can see that the Vi is level 4. So Vi is right now level 4, has only just hit level 5, and unfortunately wasn't able to use the ultimate. So Chief's very quick jungle pathing essentially allowed him to get level 5 quickly as a Shyvana, which is really good, because your ganks become infinitely better at level 5 with Shyvana. Now, what I would have done is potentially cleared the top lane wave, but obviously the Fiora was able to get back in time relatively easily. I'm a bit of a greedy jungler, though. I like to just take... If waves are just dying to turret, I will go up and soak the experience just because it's going to waste if no one is. But Fiora managed to get back to lane relatively quickly. And of course, the dragon is spawning within the next, minute or so. So it's really important for a Shyvana to have her ultimate available when the dragon is going. You can see me here in the mid lane. I'm a little bit behind in levels to the Orianna right now. I lost out on quite a bit of experience, and you can see that she's still just able to constantly zone me away. It is a rough matchup versus a good Orianna. Like, Corki, until level 5, does not have the range to compete with the Orianna ball. You kind of have to go all in, and that can be difficult to do. Like this right here is one of the only ways that you win a trade consistently versus an Orianna. And you can see that I even had to use my barrier to ensure that I didn't end up going down. Now, Orianna didn't have her barrier. That could have been a relatively close affair. And actually, she's kind of like just a little bit, I think, a little bit scared, because I'm assuming she doesn't have much, she has absolutely no vision of the bot side jungle, really. So she doesn't really know where Chief is, so she has to back off, which I think is the sensible decision. Now, I'm not bothered backing at this stage. The reason being is I'm going to get the package. Now, I don't have Triforce. I would call this, I would say this is a relatively poor laning phase from me to not be able to have Triforce for the first dragon fight. A bit of a fight breaks out, though, at dragon. They managed to get in a very early kill, but this is the power of Braum. Like, Braum is just stopping all of the damage coming through, and now Misfortune manages to pop off with the Orianna. This is where I use the package to separate out the Orianna and the Misfortune, and then I end up getting the kill onto the Misfortune. So I think, realistically trade evenly overall. And in the meantime, the enemy Malphite is just permanently killing our Fiora, which is not a good look. And I think, actually, having to be careful. She's got a 2-level disadvantage. Our Fiora has got a 2-level disadvantage on the Malphite. Like, if you're not looking to utilize your lunge all the time, it can be a difficult matchup versus AP Malphite, especially if he gets ahead. So I don't blame the Fiora. It can be quite difficult, but yeah, he wasn't having a good time. So obviously another dragon fight breaking out here. I think what's happening at the moment is that they're just trying to force out kind of like pressure around the dragon. Malphite is roaming down at this stage, so Malphite is actually roaming down to the dragon pit. I use that opportunity to back, and I pick up my Triforce, which is obviously an important item addition for this next fight, if at all the fight is something on the cards. So why is Shyvana doing Krugs while Dragon's going on? It's because she needs her ultimate. So, as I said before, Shyvana really needs her ultimate in order to be able to effectively contest dragons, and they have not done it. Malphite ults over the wall here and puts himself in a rough spot. I combo my abilities just to make sure that we burst the dragon in a sort of, I guess, an unexpected way. And Shyvana actually gets out through the grace of a Braum shield. Like, Vi gets out through the grace of a Braum shield. So Shyvana jumps over. I use my Phosphorus Bomb and my Missile to help burst the Drake health down. Shyvana then also, as you saw, just steals it away. And Orianna decides to kill herself. Not really sure why. I guess she didn't think that I had barrier. Like, I kind of just was in a strong position. Like you can see how strong Triforce is. Orianna has gone for a Archangel Staff, which just means that she has no damage in the early game. I've played a lot of Orianna. I have forced the Archangel Staff early on. I genuinely believe it is the inferior way to play Ori. If you're playing Orianna, I would suggest that you go tier into Haunting Guise, into Liandry's, and then you can upgrade the tier later. Archangels is not a good enough first item spike to contest a lot of early objectives. But you do need the tier early on to ensure that you've got the mana regeneration that you need. You could also go Mana Flow Band and skip the tier until later, and then just, you know, essentially go for Liandry's right off the bat. It's a better damage item spike, honestly. Now, the enemy team actually did something really good here. Malphite got the first turret of the game, and they picked up Rift Herald. So they technically, even though it's a little bit delayed, cross-mapped for the the Rift Herald and the top lane turret in exchange for the dragon, even though they didn't actually intentionally lose the dragon. The enemy team is playing a really high tempo game. Now, this is dumb of me, by the way. I wasn't respecting the Malphite timer. I kind of zoned the Orianna away, and we all get one shot. Like we got a shockwave on our heads, and the Malphite altered us as well. So that was really dumb. I thought we were going to catch the Orianna and kill her really quickly. We were not on the same page. I could have very easily just done the or got damage or taken out the mid lane turret, and as a result of overcommitting to the engage there, we end up losing mid lane to the Rift Herald. And we also end up giving Malphite a load of kills. Malphite is now 4-1. Like, he's really, really scary. I'm loving Redemption, by the way. Redemption has become like a really, really impactful item in the current meta. People are kind of going Locket and Redemption in a team fight, obviously. So Redemption, if you're going, or you want to, like, definitely consider Redemption on, like, your jungler or your support, you know, one of the two. Make sure you're not stacking a bit, Lockets or Redemptions together because they don't work. But one of each on a team is a very, very strong combination right now. In terms of itemization now, at this stage of the game, we're not behind, but we are behind, but we're not massively behind. That set of kills on Malphite was awkward, to say the least, but obviously we're not absolutely, you know, desperate in this scenario. I'm nearly at my Static Shiv. Triforce Static Shiv is a really nice 2-item combo for Corki, and actually it's going to be really, really impactful at the next dragon fight, because that's where, you know, I think Corki is going to actually have an impact. Now, I feel bad for this Fiora because she's now going up against a 5-1 Malphite, and obviously when you've got such a level disadvantage as the Fiora has, it's never going to be fun. So that's a rough lane for Fiora right now. And actually, I don't think Fiora should join the next team fight. I genuinely think Fiora should just go to top lane and try and take that inhibitor turret, sorry, try and take that tier 1 turret, because we currently have no turrets. And one of the things that is quite clearly holding us back in terms of gold is the fact that we've got 0 turrets. Turrets count for a lot of gold on the map. Turrets are very, very impactful standing gold, like that can be taken with relative ease. So I think turrets are obviously things that we need to focus, and I think, you know, trading a dragon for some gold, especially with a hyperscaling team like we've got, is important. Now, I saw the Malphite a little too late here and had to use the package very defensively, but at least I didn't die. That's the main thing. At least I didn't die. The enemy are doing what is the best, I think is like the best play when you have a dragon. You shove mid lane up, and you basically just force the enemy to lose whatever you can. I'm losing mid lane minions right now because the enemy shoved the mid lane tower, the mid lane wave in, and so they are forcing us to lose something by trying to contest this dragon. Now, this is really good actually, because I think taking this turret is going to help us get back into the game a little more. Of course, that is a big Static Shiv here, and obviously with Malphite going across the wall, again, a really nice steal from Shyvana. Shyvana is like the queen of dragon steals, and they actually engaged a really awkward fight here. The reason that was really awkward is because, and this is something that I recommend that you never do, as a Malphite and Vi, you can get across that wall with ease. Malphite can get across with his ultimate. Vi can get across with her charge, with her Q. No one else in your team can get across if they don't have flash. And burning flash as a carry, especially when you're not absolutely like dominating the fight, is a risky situation to be in. So Malphite and Vi threw that fight because they went in 2 versus 4, and the rest of the team could not get across the wall. There was no way the rest of the team could join that. I don't even think Miss Fortune had her flash. She literally had to burn it right now, and she ends up dying anyway. So that was a really risky fight for Vi and Malphite. They were essentially opting into a 2 versus 5, where their carries were either forced to walk a long way around, where, you know, you're not going to be in a team fight for like 20 seconds or 10 seconds, or they have to flash across the wall, which is risky, and unfortunately they just made a bad decision off the back of that fight. I'm guessing from frustration around not being able to fight at the frustration at losing the dragon, I suppose. Now, we went for the Baron, which I think was a really dumb play. I think the Kai'Sa and the Lulu thought that we were stronger and had more time. I'm glad that we didn't commit to the Baron, because that was definitely going to be a big potential throw. But the enemy team capitalizes really well. Like, they get a good ultimate off on the Malphite. They don't die. Like, no one dies here. I'm overextended. The Vi hits me with a flash Q, and they are now in a position to actually do the Baron. So you can see Vi going over to the Baron. We have a Malphite backing. He's going to teleport straight back into the fight. Braum is obviously backed because he was on low HP and he won't have teleport, but he is going to just walk slowly towards the fight. Now, look at this. Lulu and Fiora. This is actually the right option to contest because the enemy is really low HP. So What happens here? Speeds up the Fiora, attack speed, ultimate, kills the Orianna. So the first big damage threat is out. Misfortune is left alone in the pit. She dies. It's a really, really good riposte because it buys her some time to essentially get the kill onto the Vi, who I think just randomly turns around. I'm, I think, hoping to combo with the Malphite, but that was a really, really, really well played fight from a Fiora who has been out of the game the whole game. Like, she was like 1-4 or 2-4 before this fight took place. Obviously desperate for the Penta in this scenario. I don't really know how she didn't get the Penta, because I really feel like that the Penta timer is quite long in this game, and she didn't get the Penta somehow, and I have no idea how she didn't get the Penta, but we're going to celebrate like the Fiora got a Penta kill anyway. So with all of them low, apologies, someone came to the door, and actually it's really funny that skills continue to go, like the FX continues to go when you pause the replay. Anyway, we've got like a long enough time to go for the Baron. You can see the enemy team is kind of running their way over. Watch this from Orianna. Completely blind steal. She like completely blind stole the Baron, which is obviously a mix of luck and skill, but really quick reactions from the Orianna to go command attack, command shockwave, and steal the Baron. So that was a huge loss for us. We technically did have the time. Now, Vi thinks that she's caught me out here, but the Lulu ultimate is really big. And what we do is we burn both the GA of the Vi, and we also managed to get the kill on her as well. So that was really big. And actually, if you look at the items that I've got now, I've got Vamp Boots, I've got Static Shiv, I've got a Triforce, I've got a BF Sword. We've actually got a really strong mid-game a Corki build right now, so we're actually doing a lot of damage. We're at 4, 2, and 3 at this stage in the game, and so you can start to see why this build is actually really, really strong. Like, you get a lot of team fight damage off. It obviously gives you a little bit of healing as well, because you have the scaling with you have the lifesteal with your Vamp. But this is a really strong position to be in as a Corki in the mid game. So what you can see here is Chief just pushing the wave that's like in the bot lane, trying to put pressure on around this Baron, but also trying to generate some rage for his Shyvana ultimate. I actually don't think that we should contest this Baron. I actually think that this Baron is, we've got no vision, the enemy's grouped up for it, they've already started it at this point in the game. I genuinely don't think that we should contest this Baron. I think we should leave it, and we do. It was the correct decision to not take this Baron. So really, even though we got 2 steals, even though we got 2 steals on the dragons in the early game, we lost the Baron to a steal, and we lose the 3rd dragon. So realistically, even at 14 minutes into the game, even despite the 5k gold difference, we are still at a relatively even fight. Now, Fiora jumps in when I'm backing and decides to go for the fight. I was not quick enough to cancel my back, but Shyvana gets a really good ultimate. So Chief gets a really good ultimate off in this scenario. Now they start kiting backwards. The Kai'Sa is just trying to buy time with the Lulu, but low HP bars all over the place. And then I split the team fight up with the ultimate. I get both the kill on the Misfortune and on the Orianna. And then also, even though Malphite tries to dive in on the Kai'Sa, I get the triple kill off the back of it as well. So whilst I was a little bit late to the fight, the package allowed me to catch up to the fight, and I was able to be hugely impactful in that team fight off the back of a really well played ultimate from Kai'Sa. Like, Kai'Sa's ultimate was super good in that team fight because A, it put her on the side protecting her allies. It picked off the Vi, which immediately made the enemy think twice about engaging the fight further. And Malphite was also a little late to the fight, hadn't used his ultimate. Like, if Malphite was in that fight and was able to use his ultimate, that might have been a different fight altogether. So both me and Malphite were a little late to the team fight. I still think it was an awkwardly engaged fight that could have definitely gone very wrong for us. But I think Shyvana played it really well and rescued the fight from what was essentially a really awkward engage from Fiora. So, for this fight coming up, and for the next few minutes into the game, I've got a BF Sword and an Infinity Edge. So I now have Triforce, Static Shiv, Infinity Edge, and a BF Sword that's going to be working towards a GA. We're in a super strong spot. This is quite, like, I would say, like, late game Corki. We're level 13. We have huge crits. You can see, like, we're dealing, what, 102 plus 405 damage as a crit. So we've got 405 magic damage plus 102 physical damage in a crit scenario. And the enemy team is basically trying to bait with the Malphite ultimate for Baron. Like, if they waited a little bit longer, they might have been able to do it. Malphite ults across the wall. Shyvana ults as Malphite ults and doesn't get knocked up. I managed to dodge it, and this is just a simple front-to-back team fight for us now. No one can actually get on top of me, and the Kai'Sa is also super aggressive. And with the Fiora too, we managed to get a triple kill on the Corki, and the Kai'Sa picks up a double. And that leaves me at 10, 2, and 4 on this Corki. And immediately off the back of it, we push straight down mid lane because obviously we have a very, very successful team fight with basically all of our main damage dealing carries alive apart from Shyvana. And this is enough to us to go and end the game. So Corki, with this build, really strong mid game, scales well into the late game, does a huge amount of damage. And speaking of damage, I will show you at the end, and I'll also show you the builds that the rest of the team have gone as well. Okay, so damage, I dealt 26,970 damage, so let's call it 27,000 damage. It was the most damage on the team. The only person that dealt more damage than me in the game was the Orianna, who is really strong as a good consistent damage dealer. And in terms of itemization, very standard Lulu build. Ardent Censer, Harmonic Echoes into Athenes and Holy Grail. Very basic. Shyvana, Triforce into Blade of the Ruin King, into GA, into Sterex Gauge. Pretty standard Shyvana build, with obviously the Redemption enchant on top. Kai'Sa is Blade of the Ruin King into Infinity Edge Runans. Again, super standard Kai'Sa build. Fiora. This is a little bit different, because some Fioras like to go Blade of the Ruin King. But Triforce into Death Dance, into Sterex Gauge, and into what I assume will be a GA. I didn't like this Misfortune build at all. I thought this Misfortune build was actually really bad. I think this Misfortune went GA Infinity Edge. It's a bit of an old build. I think the best build for Misfortune right now is Blade of the Ruin King into Infinity Edge, into like Rapid Fire Cannon or Phantom Dancer, then into GA. Orianna, again, Seraphs, Liandry's, Rabadon's the most standard Orianna build that you can get. A very similar story for the Malphite, who actually went the Infinity Orb early on, which I think is best for bursting damage. He also went for a very late Soul Stealer, which I think if you're going to get Soul Stealer, you have to get it like second item or even first item. It's not a very good power spike, but obviously it does give you like lower cooldown ultimates. If this game was going to go later and he was able to get assists and kills, then it might have been worth it, but I'm not a big fan of Soul Stealer as an item in general. And this Vi build is very odd, honestly. Youmuu's into GA, which is like a standard item combo for like sort of burst damage dealing champions like Zed. But I think for the Triforce is too good of an item spike for Fiora to pass up on. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this Fiora item build. Plus the enemy team also stacked lockets. So one of them didn't go Redemption, which means they're getting less efficiency out of their lockets. So they didn't quite itemize correctly here. But anyway, that's the breakdown of the game. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to subscribe and I'll see you soon.